Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to define what a parallelogram is for today. Okay, so a parallelogram is a quadrilateral with both sides. Actually, it should be both. Sorry, just write the word both there. Both should be pairs of opposite sides are parallel. Now, our properties include opposite sides of a parallelogram are congruent. Opposite angles of a parallelogram are congruent. Consecutive angles in a parallelogram are supplementary. Thank you. Thanks. And if a parallelogram has one right angle, then it has 4 right angles. I'm going to give you a minute to write this down, and then I want you to look at your foldable. Okay? So this says, open the part that says properties of a parallelogram. Okay? This says, inside here, opposite sides are congruent. It says opposite sides are parallel. We talked about this one. Opposite angles are congruent. And it says here adjacent angles are supplementary. That is the same as saying consecutive angles. So you can kind of go either way on the test or inputs. Okay. The only thing this does not contain is if a parallelogram has one right angle, then it has 4 right angles. So if you want to add that in, you're more than welcome to. But you don't have to. It will make sense based off just the math. Okay. So you have a good chunk of information right in that foldable, right in that window. Okay. And then the rest are parallelogram properties to find a rectangle, square, and rhombus. We're going to get into those a little later. Is anybody still writing this down? Are you good? Did you write it all down? Okay, just checking. Okay, so let's take a look at example 1. It says if A, B, C, D is a parallelogram, then, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark some things here. We know that opposite sides are congruent, so I'm just going to mark those congruent. The other thing we know is that consecutive angles are supplementary. We also know that these are parallel to one another. Okay. We also know that opposite angles are congruent. So these are all the markings that you're potentially going to need. Now the supplementary part, I'm just going to kind of draw, I just want to kind of explain where the supplementary part is coming from. So if this is angle 1 and this is angle 2, this is a parallel line. This is a parallel line. And this was our transversal. What kind of angles do we have there? Are they alternate interior, consecutive, or corresponding? What do you guys think? What kind of angles do we have there? Are they a linear pair? What do you think? Oops.
Who knows? What kind of angles are those? Because we got to review it for the final exam anyway. It's on there. So what kind of angles are these? They're same side interior. So these are same side interior. And same side interior angles are what? Congruent or supplementary? Try again. Supplementary. All right, so since these are, that is the reason adjacent or consecutive angles are supplementary. All right. So now that we have this information, let's start filling in these blanks. AB is going to be congruent to what? I heard it. Who said it? Somebody said it. AB is congruent to what? I know who said it. I don't know why she won't say it again, though. What is it? DC. Nice job. AD is going to be congruent to what? BC. Very good. Angle A is congruent to which angle? Good. Close. Look right here. C. Very good. And angle B is going to be congruent to what? Angle D. Questions on those before we move on to the next one? So now they're saying the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B. So this angle and this angle, what are they going to add up to? We just talked about it. They're going to add up to 180. And if we go around here, BC, those are considered consecutive or adjacent. That's also equal to 180. CD, adding these two up, same thing. It's going to equal 180. And DA, this side right here, this angle and this angle, same thing. All those are going to add up to 180 degrees because they are all supplementary. Questions on that? Anybody still writing? All right, example 2. It says if GJK is a parallelogram and the measure of angle G is 90 degrees, so they marked it right here, then what are the measures of these other 3 angles? That's that last rule we just talked about. What are those going to be? Take a peek right here. If a parallelogram has 1 right angle, then it has how many right angles? 4. So that means if that's 90 degrees, what are these going to be? Yeah. Yeah, they're going to be 90 degrees also. Very good. How are we doing so far? Are we okay? Hi. Thank you. Ray. All right, example 3. Quadrilateral LMNP is a parallelogram designed to be a part of a new company logo. Find the measure of angle PLM and the measure of LMN and D. All right, well, let's start with the easy one. Let's start with D. Remember, this is congruent with this. So 2D is going to equal 22. What does that make D? D equals what? To here, what is it? 11. Nice job. All right, so that takes care of D. Let's take a look at the next angle, okay? So they're saying angle LMN, or I'm sorry, PLM. So here's P to L to M. So they're talking about this angle right here. We know this angle is going to be congruent with this angle, not just part of it, the whole thing. So the measure of angle PLM is going to equal 66 plus 42. What does that equal? What's 66 plus 42? 108. So it's going to be 108 degrees. So that takes care of this guy. All right, the next thing they're asking for is LMP. So L to M, LMN. L to M to N. So this is congruent with this, but these two are supplementary. All right. Since they are supplementary, we know that we're going to take, we're going to say that the measure of angle LMN is going to equal 180 minus the measure of angle MNP. Or you can do MLP. It does not matter. But this is going to be 180 minus 108. So what is the measure of LMN? What is it to here? 72. Questions on that? All right, questions on this? All right, quadrilateral LMNP is a parallelogram. If the perimeter of the parallelogram is 74 units, find the measure of MN. All right, so in this case, one thing we know is that if this is 22, we also know that this is 22, right? Now, what's going to happen here is MN, we don't know what that is, and we don't know what that is. So I'm just going to label those with X. So here we're going to have 22 plus 22 plus X, and we're setting that equal to 74. If we combine our like terms, that's 44 plus 2X equals 74. Subtract 44 from each side. So what's 74 minus 44? Yep. What'd you get? 30. Very good. Then we divide by 2. So I get X is equal to 15. Questions on that? Is there anything I can address on this page that needs a little clarification? Okay, then. Let's move on to the back. We're almost done. All right, so in this case, we're talking about the diagonals now. The diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other. So that means that if we looked at the diagonals here, RQ is going to be congruent to QT, and UQ is going to be congruent to QS. Now, does that necessarily mean RT and US are congruent to each other, like those whole diagonals? Are those whole diagonals congruent? No. Okay? It just means that those little parts are because they're bisecting each other. Each diagonal of a parallelogram separates the parallelogram into two congruent triangles. Okay? So if I wanted to write a congruency statement here, I would state that triangle ACD would be congruent to triangle CAB. Questions on that? All right, number 5, it says solve for x and y given the following parallelogram. All right, so in this case, remember, diagonals bisect each other. So this is congruent with this, and this is congruent with this. So I'm going to set this up as two equations. The first one I'm going to solve for is 2x plus 7 equals 27. And the second one is going to be 3y minus 4 equals 29. So here I'm going to subtract 7 from each side. This leaves me with 2x equals 20. Divide by 2, I get x is equal to 10. Here I'm going to add the 4 to each side. This leaves me with 3y equals 33. Divide both sides by 3, I get y is equal to 11. So here's our two answers. So what questions can I address right now that could potentially help you guys out? What do we need? What do we got? Anything. Now, if you want to, I think what isn't listed here. There's also, it's not telling you in here. I can only fit so much, right? You guys might want to write down that diagonals bisect each other, and actually just diagonals bisect each other because they're not congruent, right? So you might want to write down that diagonals bisect each other somewhere on that too, so that you have it. Okay. Any questions though? Okay. I need you guys to get started on your, there's a Delta Math for tonight. It should be there. I'm going to double check. But if there's nothing else, you guys can just get going on your work. Yeah, it's there. We're good. All right. Those who watch at home, have a great day.